Guys, it's me, Arthur, and you're watching How to Draw Creepy Creatures. Now, first of all, I would like to apologize to all you lovely people for not having uploaded in a little while. Thing is that I had some, stuff going on with my house that I need to fix and everything, so, yeah, it's been a busy week. But I finally found some time to carve out, I was finally able to carve out a little time to do this, so I'm excited to get back to it. Also, I've got a ton of requests that I've got to catch up on because you guys sent me some, so I'm going to try to bang them out as quickly as possible. Alright, so the first one I'm going to do is a really old one I got a while ago from Subscribe to Me for No Reason to do a Luecrotta. Now, for those of you who don't know what this is, let me remind you, because there have been a number of mentions of this or similar beings in pop culture. It was referenced to in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Supernatural, Dungeons and Dragons, a number of video games and movies. So, anyway, it also goes under the name Crocotta, Luecrotta, or Yenna. Anyway, the earliest incarnation of this creature is the Crocotta. So in order to understand the Luecrotta, you need to understand the first version. Now, it's been a myth in Ethiopia, India, and Persia for thousands of years. However, it first entered Western consciousness thanks to naturalists like Strabo and Pliny the Elder during ancient Roman times. Now, the earliest description of the Crocotta is an animal that is said to look like a cross between a wolf, a hyena, a wild dog, and a lion, sometimes with fox or badger-like features in there. Just picture like a very sickly-looking, huge, scary dog, basically. And it's said to have faceted eyes like diamonds that give it superior night vision that sparkle in the light. So it's said to not come out in the daytime very often because its eyes are sensitive to light. And another curious detail about this is that they said that the creature was, as they described it, bisexual, meaning in this case, the way that they use this word here is that it could change its gender depending on the circumstances of its environment. So they were really difficult to stamp out in a specific area, according to the legends, because much like frogs and reptiles and some other animals, they can just change their gender depending on whether or not they needed males or females. So, very bizarre detail to add to the story like this. But the thing that makes the Crocotta and its subsequent variants so feared was its ability to mimic human voices. Anyway, this creature primarily likes to feed on carrion. It loves rotting flesh. However, once it's raided all the graveyards and runs out of human meat to eat, it will sneak around farms at night, waiting, like listening in on people's conversations in order to hear their names. And once it hears their name, it will imitate that person's voice. It will learn to imitate it perfectly so that they can trick that individual into coming out into the woods and eating them. It's also said that they will learn to imitate the sound of a man vomiting in order to attract that person's dog in order to lure them out into the woods and eat them. So, pretty creepy. But, anyway, as I said before, all these legends primarily come from Persia. Persia is now Iran, but India and Ethiopia. And what all these places have in common are hyenas. And hyenas are known for being vaguely dog-like in appearance, though they're not actually canines. They're a member of the feline family. So the fact that they have some feline features would explain why people thought that they were a hybrid or something like that. And they are known for their limited ability to mimic human voices. In fact, the Latin name for hyenas is Crocotta after this legend because of the similarities. So some have speculated that since hyenas are known to hunt and eat people, it has been speculated that maybe they played a significant role in these people's subconscious, that they created this legend just because people are so afraid of them, and justifiably so. Hyenas are pretty intimidating animals. But anyway, the Luecrotta, which is a name that's most commonly used for this creature in various versions of this nowadays, is said to not be a purebred crocotta, but to be the offspring that a crocotta has with another animal, usually a wild dog. So the Luecrotta is said to usually have more canine-like features and less cat-like, though it can sometimes have cloven hooves, which is a detail that's not always in there, but it's common enough that it's worth mentioning. However, I like to just draw it with like dog feet. So another interesting thing is that some variations claim that the Luecrotta does not have teeth, but has a razor-sharp beak like a bird that it uses to eat carrion with. But most versions say that it has teeth. Okay, so this is actually a really cool request for me because in my book series Rapunculus, it features Luecrottas, or Luecrottas. I forget how I said it in the book, actually, because there's so many different versions of the name, and I kept going over it. But anyway, the Luecrotta that I used in the story, I decided to use a primarily canine version, and I thought, okay, what's the scariest looking dog, wolf-like, or hyena-like creature I could think of? And so, when I was looking for inspiration for how to depict these creatures, I went to descriptions of the Texas blue dog, which, if you don't know what that is a cryptid from, obviously, Texas folklore, and from the southern U.S. Anyway, these animals are supposed to look absolutely terrifying, like the most sickly, emaciated-looking zombie dog-like creatures you could think of. So I took a lot of inspiration for that when I was designing how I wanted the Luecrottas to look in my book. So that's the version that we're going to use. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start by drawing the basic skeletal structure of a dog. Okay, now we got a basic skeletal structure here. Now, you notice that the mouth looks unusually wide. The reason why is that I actually took inspiration from pictures of a thylacine or a saber-toothed tiger. No, I'm sorry, not a saber-toothed tiger. A Tasmanian tiger for how I wanted the head and particularly the jaw to look, because I wanted the jaw to like open very, very wide to show off all the teeth. So I thought that that's kind of just a cool little detail to add. So if you don't quite know what I'm talking about, just look up pictures of a thylacine, particularly that iconic picture from the 1930s where it's one in a zoo and it's opening its mouth. It's very creepy, very effective. Let's work on the muscle structure a little bit. Right, let's erase some of this and work on the finer details. Okay, now let's add a little bit of fur to kind of give it a little bit more hyena-like look, but don't add too much fur, just along like the back. Alright, is that what I shake it? Okay, let's add a little stuff in the background, like maybe some gray. It's supposed to live in graveyards, so some trees. Yeah, we'll add more detail when we paint it, but this is just for now. It's just a basic sketch, but so far you have drawn the Luecrotta. Alright, like, share, and subscribe, you guys. My email drink and my email address and the link to my Patreon page are both in the description. And if you want to reach out and leave in the comments like questions about the show or suggestions for future topics, that would be great. Also, anybody who finished a lesson on the show and would like to show off your artwork, you could just send it to me. As long as you give me your permission, I'll show off on the show with your name so that everybody knows that you did it. Thanks so much for watching, you guys, and goodbye.